Hello, everybody. This is Gary Kay, and you are watching a special edition of my Rants and rAVes podcast, a videocast version. And this is sort of our annual videocast version with Mike Blackman, the managing director of Integrated Systems Europe, which includes Integrated Systems events. Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, thanks, Gary. I actually just got back from Amsterdam. We've been having project meetings with all the staff and suppliers, and everything looks really, really positive.
Well, you have one of the best teams of people working on a show. The easiest to deal with. We email them almost 24 hours a day, and they get back to us within a couple of hours. So I don't know if Danielle and Stephanie, for example, ever sleep, but they definitely pay attention to their emails, even though we're 6 hours different. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate everything you and your team have done.
I mean, it's a really good team, and they really are dedicated, and they get a lot of joy out of this. I was actually talking to someone today and telling that we sit together every year and we just try to do better. We look at everything we do and say, how can we make this better? How can we improve? We had a fantastic show last year, and I think we could have just sat back and say, okay, we made it, we can just leave it as it is. But they're not satisfied with that. They want every time to say, okay, how can we take this to the next step?
Well, I'll tell you, you're going to have a hard time beating 2017. You set a record. It's the biggest AV show ever, biggest in the world last year as well. And you had an amazing keynote speaker last year. The show floor looked awesome. So one way you're going to do that is you've added an entirely new hall. That's another way to make the show better. So talk about that. We what?
We've added two.
Two halls since last year. Okay, so tell us about
last year. So the rAVe built another hall. It's not one of the bigger ones, but it's small, and we actually put smart building in there, and that came on board just in August last year. So it's our first time using it. And then we've also put in a temporary structure in the middle of the rAVe as well. They call it a pavilion. It's like a very sophisticated tent that makes a temporary exhibition hall. And it's connected to the building, so it's seamless walk through from one part into the other. When you're inside, you actually don't realize you're in a temporary structure.
Yeah.
You don't inside. You will never understand. You'll never see that.
I assume it's kind of like those giant structures you guys have at Oktoberfest that you can't even tell the structure.
Exactly like.
Yeah.
So, they're very high and large and quite strong structures. And it was one way for us to actually manage some of the additional growth we had, which we didn't anticipate until we started doing rebooking last year. So you see actually another record. In more exhibitors, we have almost 1,200, 1,191 exhibitors as of this morning. We have 47,000 net square meters of space. So in US terms, that's about 470,000 square feet, approximately a little more. And registration is looking phenomenal at the moment, and the way the pattern is going at the moment, we anticipate that we will break last year's record.
Well, that's good to know, and I don't think anybody would be surprised at this point in time. And the fact that you went to a 4-day show last year, although it cost people a little bit more money to exhibit, the show floor, what I noticed that was interesting was it wasn't like the fourth day ended up being the slow day and moved from the third to the fourth day, but in fact the third day was as busy as the first and second day, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but I do recall you telling me that your second and third day was even busier than your first day, or close to as busy as your first day, and your fourth day didn't seem busy. Didn't seem empty. It seemed busy as the other days.
In comparison, the fourth day we had about 19,000 people through on the fourth day, including exhibitor personnel, and I think on day 2 we had over 30,000 people through the door. So you have people who come on the first day and come back again, plus new people. Day 3, we had about 28,000. And day 2, we dropped down to about, day 4, dropped down to about 19,000. Now, everything's relative. And if you compare it to day 2, it looks quiet. But if you compare it, even the fourth ISE, we only had 16,000 attendees in total.
Right, exactly.
And what we're trying to achieve primarily is not just to grow the audience. It's structured. We're trying to bring more of the right people, but we're also trying to encourage people to spread their visits rather than just coming on one day or coming at the beginning of the week. And our experience has always been at ISE is that every time we do something new, it takes 2 years for it to really kick into place. The first year people see it, they try it, And then by the second year, they got accustomed to it. So I anticipate day 4 will be really, really busy.
And last year you did a keynote on day 4. I think that also helped that as well. Will you do the same thing this year?
Absolutely. We have got a really, really strong headliner for our keynote this year. In fact, we have our opening address on the Monday night, and we've got a star architect, a guy called Ollie Sharon. Mm-hmm. He designs, very, really phenomenal buildings. We've got him in. We've been able to secure him to actually do the opening reception the day before the show opens, and opening address on that day. And then on the last day, we've secured Daniel Lamar. He's the CEO of Cirque du Soleil. And
that's right, yeah.
So, and I think, when you read about him, it's quite an interesting guy. And when you see what he's done with that business and the shows they've created, but what's more important is that these shows really, really touch our industry. When you start to see how much AV equipment is being used in these events, you see the relevance of why these guys are important to us.
Yep, I agree with you. I don't think anybody's ever been to a Cirque du Soleil show that was boring. He's obviously got some creativity. So let's talk about some of the sort of most obvious things. Obviously, this is an audiovisual show, but what's unique about it is that it is commercial AV and home AV in one. That's the first thing that needs to be said, and that's in partnership with your longtime partnership. This is your 13th year, I think, of the show.
It's our 14th year.
14th year. So in partnership with Infocom and Cedia again. And in addition to that, you, interestingly enough, have the largest digital signage show in the world inside of your show, because you have more exhibitors and more square footage than any other digital signage show. You now have a smart building show in your show. You have the UC show, video conferencing / UC show in your show. You have an LED hall, really kind of hall and a half of LEDs that is like walking through Times Square, for lack of a better term, downtown Tokyo. And then you have, what am I missing? What other kind of sort of themed areas do you have?
We have Hall 7, which is audio, focused on audio, pro audio, some residential audio in there as well. When we started ISE, we mixed everything up, and we said, look, it was a small show, and we felt that it's a great way for integrators really to discover new things. But as ISE has grown and grown and grown, we find not everybody has 4 days. So we needed to focus a little bit, and there was a little bit of self-focusing. Companies would say, well, I want to go and know where my competitor is or my partner or whatever. So we started to actually push these things together to actually give more focus to the people who are actually more interested in those subject areas. So, if you're interested in UC, we say go to Hall 9. That's your start here. You'll find lots of other stuff to do with UC in other parts of the building, but it's a great place to start. If your interest is more smart building, then we say we'll go to Hall 12. I'm trying to change some of the hall numbers, so I always remember what's what.
yeah, I noticed that too.
And it's just we just started to focus some of these things to actually help the attendees as a place to start and say, okay, if that's what you're really interested in, go here first. You'll find lots of other stuff around the show, but this is a good place to start. What was the old Hall 12 is now Hall 13, the Elysium. That's going to be educational technology. We found over the years more and more companies who provide solutions for the educational markets, universities, schools, et cetera, or training facilities, were dotted around the show. And a couple of them approached and said, we really think there's a benefit for all to be together. And we said, yes, we believe in that as well. And we worked with a couple of magazines that work in that area to promote as well. And so, we've got one hall which is focused on educational technology.
Yeah, so that's good, because if you're a customer and you're doing live events, you're doing audio, you're doing digital signage, or you're an educational institution, it gives you sort of a launching point. That makes sure you cover the parts you need to see, and the rest of it is gravy. And of course, you do have manufacturers that do cover multiple disciplines. So, for example, NEC has products in digital signage, has commercial AV products, has products that augment audio, and also has UC products. And they kind of have their own little section. And then you have companies like Samsung that have their own sort of hall. And then, of course, and I don't know that there are very many companies that you would not find on the ISE show floor. So it is kind of the mega show where everything exists. Of course, if you have not registered yet, there's still plenty of time to register. That's at iseurope.org and iseurope.com too, I think. I think you can actually go to both places or not.
.com would be redirected, but the .org is our main website.
Yeah.
If you hit .com, you'll still come to us as well. We recommend pre-register. It makes everything smoother and easier for you to get in and attend the show. There's lots to see. We have over 300 new exhibitors registered for the show, and it's phenomenal. We get so many new companies coming in. So it's
one of the most exciting things about it too is when you walk into the lobby. You guys always do an impressive display in the lobby. Do you want to give us a hint as to what you're going to do this year? Because every year you do something different.
So we got something new. We have a great partner in Lang AG, and based up near Cologne here. And we always talk with them. Actually, Tobias Lang sits on our board of directors, and we talk with them and say, look, what's the latest? What is the things that people really want to see? And LED is, we've had projection there for the last few years. We've had various things. So this year you're going to see a 44-meter wide LED wall, 44 meters wide, and I think 3 meters deep. So, one of the largest walls of such you'll see anywhere. And, they help us create the content for that to actually give some inspiration. So when people come in, I want to create that wow effect. When people come and say, I could do that, that would be good for us. Or, that's a great solution. So, we pride ourselves that we're experts in show management. We know how to do a good trade show. But, when it comes to things like that, we have to talk to the industry. We have to talk to the experts and say, look, what's good? Can you help us create this? What do we need to do?
Well, that's always an impressive part. The three things that are my most favorite is I love Amsterdam as a city because it is truly an international city, very welcoming. I know that the mayor's given you the key. The show's been recognized as one of their major events of the year, and they roll out the red carpet. And it's the more you have it there, the easier it is to get around because we learn more about it and they learn more about us. Second is the fact that everything is in one location. So although you can't cover the show in one day. I mean, I can tell you that if you're going to go and you're going to make a one-day reservation, you're not going to cover the whole show. You're going to have to segment, as you mentioned, and decide where you're going to go. So I'd recommend at least 2 or 3 days to cover that show for. And the third is that you have an amazing array of education, and you've done some unique things that you started a couple of years ago, where you have the little short bursts or snacks of education that are only 20 minutes long. Those are awesome. I've participated in them. I've done a couple of sessions. I'm going to do a couple again this year, in addition to the long form sessions. But all of it is right there at iseurope.org. And of course, we're going to follow the show. We're taking not quite as big of a crew as we've taken in the past, but we're going to still have quite a few people there, and we're going to try to cover as much of the show floor as we can. You can check us out at ravepubs.com/ISE 2017, or of course, if you go to ravepubs.com and just do in our search area ISE, you'll find all the stuff as well. So I hope that you guys will follow the coverage, and of course, if you have not registered, you need to go ahead and do it at iseurope.org. And if you're on the fence of going, you need to get off the fence. You need to register.
Yeah. We will welcome you there, and we can promise you a lot of new things. We've been very, very lucky that we've come into the R&D cycles of a lot of companies now. So there are a lot of product launches happening at ISE, and CES has just happened in the US. So a lot of display companies are showing the commercial versions of their products at ISE, but they may have actually also shown behind the curtains at CES. So that's really a benefit, and it means you'll see lots of new things.
Yep, and I already know a few manufacturers are launching stuff that have never been shown before. And last year, I think that set a record. I think more products were launched at ISE than any other show last year, both in the commercial and on the residential side. And I think you'll see that. I think you'll see some of the Whisper Suite products, even that launched officially at InfoComm, were actually shown at ISE in secret suites and things like that. And I think that will continue. As you said, the R&D cycle of having your show in the middle of February is a good idea, and I hope that you keep it there. But in any case, ISEurope.org, and of course ravepubs.com. Mike, I really appreciate you joining me today, especially as late as it is there.
No, appreciate it. Always glad to come and join you.
And we'll do an interview, hopefully a pre-show and a post